Time for another Seahawks Today mailbag. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Our mailbag shows we answer whatever questions you guys have that you send us on the live show that we do each and every Wednesday. And you may be wondering, well, what do I do to get the latest on the channel? Well, the easiest way is to turn on notifications. So go to your phone, go to settings, scroll down, tap YouTube, and tap notifications, and turn on allow notifications. And you are going to be the first to know everything we do here on the channel. So you can be a part of our live shows, so you can get the latest happenings on your favorite team. It's all in one place. Subscribe now, turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. First question from Corey with a $5 super chat. My friend said we can't win a Super Bowl with Geno. I told him he's crazy. You get some pass rush, some good linebackers, and this team looks way different. Well, Geno just went to the Pro Bowl this year, so he put himself among that upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL with what he was able to do. But think about the quarterbacks that are in the championship games this weekend. You got Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow, okay? And, you know, I think Geno played just as good this year as Brock Purdy did. The other three are in, their own elite status of sorts. But we've seen in the past, look at the guys that have won Super Bowls. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Okay? I mean, you do not have to have, Daddy Warbucks to be your starting quarterback. We've seen that in years past. I mean, even Russell Wilson, year 2, was not an elite quarterback yet at that point in time. You don't have to have the all that in a bag of chips quarterback. You just have to have a guy that can make the big-time throws and limit mistakes, and we know Geno can do that. So I would say if Geno played like he did last year, that would be good enough. If everything else went right, a team could get to a Super Bowl, could win it with Geno. Corey also wants to know, I'm warming up on Myles Murphy. Lots of potential. Yeah, I like Myles Murphy too. And if the Seahawks are sitting at 5 and C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are off the board, and if we see Will Anderson and Jalen Carter off the board, that's the pick for me. Myles Murphy, a lot of potential. I agree with you. That could be a good pick for Seattle. I think you come away, if you end up with Myles Murphy, you sit there and you say to yourself, okay, this wasn't my first choice, but I'm not mad about it either. Christy writes, we know the Seahawks need help at cornerback. What about signing Marcus Peters? Could he fit in here? Look, I've watched Marcus Peters his entire career. I used to cover the Chiefs in Kansas City and saw Marcus Peters from the very beginning. And Marcus Peters has a lot of raw talent. He's had a very good career. But to put it mildly, Marcus Peters has been a knucklehead throughout most of his career. And we started to see this past year when he came back from injury and played for the Ravens this year, he had started to lose a step. And he's always been a gamer of some sorts. Either he gets the interceptions or he gives up the big plays. And this year he was starting to give up more of the big plays than he was the interceptions. So to me, I'm kind of out on the idea of Marcus Peters because I look at it this way. It's an aging corner who gives up big plays and he can be a headache in the locker room too. No thanks. I don't want Marcus Peters. What do you think? Sign Marcus Peters? Bring Marcus Peters to Seattle? Y for yes, N for no. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section if you want to see Marcus Peters make his return to the Pacific Northwest. The Passmaster writes, I'm excited for Kenneth Walker year 2, as you should be. Kenneth Walker was fantastic this past year as a rookie and made his case to be Rookie of the Year. I liked everything I saw from Kenneth Walker, and he did so behind a bad offensive line. If they can get him the necessary offensive line help, watch out. Kenneth Walker could be something very special, could have a nice encore in 2023 as far as I'm concerned. Crew 018 writes, opinion on Jack Campbell in the second. So Jack Campbell I had in a mock draft from Iowa. He was in our Seahawks mock draft last week, I believe, that second-round selection. And 6'5", 246, might be a little bit undersized, but he is a tackling machine. 115 tackles last season with no sacks and one forced fumble. And when you look at this Seahawks team with not having Jordan Brooks for most of next year, this is a guy that could fill that void. Remember, it's going to be a collective effort to replace Jordan Brooks. It's not going to be just one guy. Jack Campbell could certainly ease that pain of not having Jordan Brooks around for part of next year as far as that goes. Jack Campbell? Maybe so. We'll see. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code Seahawks125. You'll get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. Bet on this weekend's NFL playoff action, some NBA, college basketball, whatever you're feeling. Get your bets in now. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. Still Flying wants to know, should we trade up for Bryce Young? I'll look at it this way. Think about this. So if you trade up for Bryce Young, you probably have to move up to number 2 or number 1. I don't see him slipping past 2, okay? So then you're looking at giving up the 5, probably the 20, and then maybe another pick as well. To me, I think that asking price might be just too much as far as that goes. I like Bryce Young. He's my favorite quarterback in this draft. But to me, that's just a lot to give up potentially to move up to secure a player like Bryce Young as far as I'm concerned. Not to mention, he's 6'1" in height? A short quarterback trading all the way up to one of those top 2 spots? I would say no for now anyway. Trade up for Bryce Young. What would you do? There used to be a show on ABC called What Would You Do? I believe it was John Quinones that hosted that show. I loved that show, by the way. I think producer Chugs liked it too. What would you do, as John Quinones would say? Would you trade up for Bryce Young in this case? If you would, type T for trade. If not, type P for pass. Let me know in the comment section. T for trade, P for pass. Matthew writes, go all defense in the first round. D tackle, linebacker, strong safety. That sounds like a good idea in theory, but as I said in my mock draft last week, there are certain guys that if they're available, you can't just pass up on. Okay? I mean, like, what did we talk about last week? C.J. Stroud, if he's there at 5, I can't say no. Quentin Johnston, if he's there at 20, I can't say no. I see what you mean. In principle, yes. But let's see how the board works for you as far as that goes. But, Matthew, I understand, but let's see how the board works. Go in with an open mind. Duke wants to know, hashtag Seahawks and Jeremy, as I believe we're going to bring in Jeremy Chugs here. Who is a sleeper defensive player in this year's draft? Jeremy, let you start. What do you think?
So I got a couple names for you. As I look at my notes over here, I don't remember how to pronounce his first name. I think it's Jair Brown, the safety from Penn State. A great guy to look at. He really showed out in the Rose Bowl this year.
Yeah.
He played very well. Another one, Myles Smith, the edge rusher from Michigan. That could be a middle round guy that you could get. I think he's an athletic freak. I love what he gives you. And I think, if you don't go defensive end edge in the first round, that could be something to look at. Somebody who's kind of fallen down throughout this season. I still think he has a lot of talent. Obviously, he's got great genes. Noah Sewell, the linebacker from Oregon, another great pick if you're able to get him maybe in the 2nd, the 3rd round. And somebody who's climbing up draft boards. I don't know how high he'll get. I don't know if he'll actually get into the 1st round. Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback from Illinois. Very lanky, kind of reminds me a little bit of Tariq Woolen. Can play a little bit of press, lanky, fast, taller guy. Somebody to look at if he does, find his. I think he's going to have a really high rise as the draft process goes through. But if he kind of sticks around that 2nd round range, I would 100% take him around there.
All those players are really good who you just mentioned. But I'll say this. I think we talked about him earlier, Christopher Smith, the safety from Georgia. there is going to be a number of guys like him and Georgia players that are just going to be sprinkled throughout the draft. He's going to be one, maybe he's not a top 10, 15 guy, but still around later. I know a lot of people are talking about Byron Jones from Tennessee. What about the other Byron Jones from Alabama? I mean, this is a guy, I think Mel Kiper had him 10th on his list of outside linebackers that came out the other day. I mean, I think Byron Jones actually might be better than the other Byron Jones potentially. So, yeah, there's some sleepers out there in this draft. A lot of good defensive players. Gil writes, what's the Seahawks' biggest need this offseason? I don't know what means more than the other. I guess, defensive line, defensive tackle, edge rusher is 1A, 1B. But interior line at guard and center, I could argue, is just as big of a need. And then, let's talk Geno Smith for a second. What if it was a one-hit wonder with Geno this past year, which we don't know. It could be. Then you might actually need a quarterback for the long-term future. So I know that's a long answer, but I don't think there is a definitive answer, if that makes sense. Fill in the blank for me. What is the Seahawks' biggest need this offseason? Fill it in the blank for me. Biggest need for the Seahawks is what? Let me know in the comments section. Next question. If Quentin Johnston is up at 20, I'm down for that. I said so last week in our mock draft. I can't pass on Quentin Johnston. He was terrific. What we saw in the playoff against Michigan, what he was able to do for TCU, 6'4" receiver. He's fast. He can jump. He can get downfield. I mean, he's what you want. He's what you're looking for. I would love to see Quentin Johnston in Seattle. If he's there at 20, it's hard for me to say no. I'm with you there. Last question from Alex Tyler. Great name. How can we get better than the 49ers? That's kind of a loaded question, to be honest, because the Niners are loaded everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, their defense, their offense, the skill position players. I mean, to think they were already a good team, and they bring in McCaffrey, and then the quarterback position, they lose their two quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy starts playing well. I think it's just one of those deals over time. You cannot focus on what the Niners are doing. You got to do what you can do to get better on your own, and then eventually hope it pays off and that you can coach through it and do those things there. To me, I understand the Niners have a great foundation of their own, but don't focus on the Niners. Focus on yourself and get better day by day, and eventually things will come to work out if you do what you're supposed to do. So it's a long road ahead, but I don't think that it's out of the question for Seattle to get there. Daily Seahawks videos here on the channels. We talk about your favorite team each and every day. If you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel now, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.